the Right Here, Right Now live show. And this show is all about exactly what I just described. It's exactly what it says on the tin. We're going to have explorations around what's on our heart and on our mind right now in this moment. Unscripted, raw, emergent, no idea where we're going to go, no scripting, no preparation, no questions in advance. It could be messy, it could be fun. What's for sure, it will be human and it will be growth fueled. So will you join us as we discuss what's on our heart and mind right here, right now? See you shortly.
Oh my God, who have I got with me tonight? Oh my God, Heather Younger, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, doing really wonderful. I love having these conversations. I get so filled up by these things. At the end of the day, I'm like, did I do any work?
Isn't that the dream, Heather? Is that not the dream?
No, just had full on conversations. And I'm like, I better go do some billable work there or something. I don't know.
Oh, how are you? Thank you very much for joining me for this exploration today. So good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, good to see you too. Always, always, always.
So for those that may not know you, of course, we're going out live right now to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. This will be re-recorded once we're finished. Give us a little lowdown. Like, I know you really well, but there may be people that don't know Heather when they come and watch this this little exploration today. So give us your 2-minute lowdown, Heather.
Ooh, 2-minute lowdown. Okay, so I'm the founder and CEO of Employee Fanatics, and we are a employee engagement and leadership firm, really helping organizations create cultures of listening. So we want to make sure that organizations are making sure that their people are feeling heard in all their splendor. And I'm also the recent author of The Art of Caring Leadership. And this is a book about, trying to make sure that leaders understand what's required to keep people, to make sure that the people feel heard and respected, like they feel like their whole selves are being brought to work. And so it's really my North Star. I mean, everything I do, I would say every piece of content, it stems from this idea of like, how can we make these people feel important, valued, heard, respected, and like what they do means something. So that's what I'm about.
Love it. And what an impassioned introduction. I love that so much. So tell us a little bit, first of all, before we go meandering, which I love doing with you anyway, what is on your heart as Heather Younger right here, right now in this moment?
Ooh, my heart.
Or your mind, just what's going through you right now?
Well, I would say, like, one of the things I'm kind of kicking myself about on this book that I just did is I wish it would have been more, I wish it would have been not too general because you have to have an audience, but that I could have been clear that everybody has a choice on how they show up and that everyone can show up as a caring leader despite title. Title just is really irrespective to all of it. It's how do you make the person in front of you feel? And I think the thing I'm leaning into is just how expansive that is and how much of a movement this can create across the globe for people to say, how can I make this person who's across from me, who I might not even know, feel heard and feel important? I don't know. I feel it unleashes something inside of me. It makes me feel a little warm and fuzzy inside when I think about it.
So I'm really intrigued. Did you feel you didn't sort of cover that, or you weren't as explicit as you might have liked to have been? Or
yeah, that's what I feel. Yeah, I feel like I wasn't explicit. I mean, when you're talking to your publisher, they want you, it's a leadership book. You have to lean this way and that way. And I put the language in. And of course, I feel like in the beginning, I say, well, it's for, anybody who considers themselves a leader. Here's what I've discovered, though, is that most people have just stamped in their brains that they aren't a leader if they don't have a title. Whether I say it's for if you consider yourself a leader or not, they're just like, nope, that's not me. I'm not a leader. And I just want to smack them about 25 times and be like, yeah, you are. Right? It's like, you lead you first. So you're definitely a leader. You're a leader of yourself first. That's the most important. So but then there's all these other people that because leadership is influence. So all these people are in our circle that we influence. And I think that I find that so interesting. I hear it often. Oh, I'm not. Oh, no, I'm not a leader. Are you thinking I'm saying, are you a manager? Because that's not what I'm necessarily saying here. And so even though, like, even my first book, I talk about how I use manager and leader interchangeably, it's because for me in the Pollyanna space I live in, and I'm always going to live here, I feel like all managers can be leaders too. And so when I say managers and leaders and I use them interchangeably, it's because Pollyanna, yep, they all are the same to me, right? Because they all can be leaders. But in this case, I don't want people to assume that I mean manager. I want them to know that I think every person in their shoes can be a leader. So that's the part that I wish I could have been, I should have been the first, right? That's all right. I have many more books in me. So it'll be coming out to the next one.
Well, I seriously have to say that this is an incredible, incredible book, to the point that I believe in it so much that I've got 5 of them to give away. So they literally arrived today. So it's working. It's working. So no, I have a genuine offer for anybody that watches this conversation. If you're interested to get a copy of the book, please just DM me, connect with me on LinkedIn. Go to my website, GarryTurner.life. Just drop me an email and I will ping you one of these. There's no prerequisite. I believe so much in Heather, and I'm really grateful to actually be one of her caring leadership coaches as part of the community, the caring leadership community that she's developing. You know, this isn't just to lift up Heather as much as I want to do that. It's because the world needs this. Like right here, right now in this moment, I've never been clearer. You know, look around me. I've got hundreds of books and they're great and they've all brought something to me. But I don't know, Heather, sometimes there's a work that actually speaks to your soul and not just your head. And I think that's what you've done with this. I think you're really speaking to the soul. So I just want to congratulate you and offer that to anyone that's watching us.
Oh, thank you. That gave me the chills. You know, I geek out on this stuff. I wish I could show you right here. I've got some goosebumps going on. I appreciate that. It means a lot, really. You know, I'm so glad to have you in that circle. I think you just belong right there. Like, I just want you right next to me. That's how I look at it. So I think that, and I think the leaders that come in are going to be super fortunate to have you and the rest of the coaches that we kind of assemble to help. And, you know, kind of going to that, it's like, you know, I wrote a book last time I didn't do this. There's plenty of people who write books who don't have all this other support system in place. I just said, you know what, if I'm going to be serious about caring leadership, and if I really want to amplify it and like expand the impact of all of this, I need to continue on. I need to make sure I can kind of, it's a holding hand. It really is. It's like, let's hold hands together as we walk on this journey so that people don't feel like, oh, this is cool. And then like not have the energy to know what the next steps are and not really know where to go and not feel like they can be vulnerable in any space to do it. And so that's the reason why we created the Caring Leadership community. And then of course, you know, the assessment and the academy and all those things. And I think there'll just be more and more things that we will all add and offer to continue to uplift leaders, you know, teams and organizations everywhere, really.
No, I love trying to be you and I often joke about this, but in terms of trying to be that yin and yang with each other as you are with all of the other coaches, because even I've been through in the last couple of weeks, Heather, to be very open and vulnerable. You know, I'm so evangelical about this. I so know it's the right thing to do that sometimes I can be a bit too much for those that are really quite afraid of this caring leadership stuff. So I find like you don't want to have to give away yourself in order to connect with people that maybe aren't ready or scared to be caring. But at the same time, we need to reach those very people because a lot of them, honestly, look and sound like me and they lead global organizations. So what's your thoughts around, like, is this book sort of meant to be a bridge to actually reach those people that maybe are curious, but like don't really know, caring heart? Oh my God, that's terrifying.
Yeah, this book is exactly for those people. This book is not for those who don't have an awareness or desire or the stamina to want to change a thing about themselves and could give a care, who don't care. I never wrote this book for them. I wrote the book for those who are on the verge. They're like, I know I'm kind of good. I could get better. And I am curious to know how I'm making other people feel. And am I? So they're there. They're very inquisitive and curious. And they do some things well, as we all do. But they may need a little bit more help and a more push. And so, you know, my goal was to do that. I don't feel like even though I think it speaks to your spirit, I feel like when you read it, it feels like it's a framework that's backed up by qualitative research, interviews by people from all over the world in the industries and all, so that it doesn't feel so squishy that doesn't have any legs to it, right? So I was purposeful in making sure that it wasn't just Heather's voice, a strong Black woman, hear me roar voice in there, that it had like my voice peppered in, which funny enough, it was bits of strength and bits of vulnerability throughout, but it had all these other people who, are amazing. At one point I talked to one of them, and he's like, every time I listen to the podcast, which is the book is based upon the podcast that I have, the Leadership Heart podcast, he's like, it's crazy how many industries and different backgrounds and you present on. It's not just one type of person. All these people come forward. And what I was able to do is just, I listened intently, listen. And I kept trying to go to connect the dots, what am I hearing? What am I hearing? And that's how I came up with the 9 behaviors. I did that and kind of reconciled that with all those, lots and lots of employee survey comments and DEI survey comments and went through and said, okay, how do those balance out? What employees say they want and aren't getting because they're complaining in the comments, or they're saying what they want in the comments, right? And how these leaders are actually showing up and reconciling those, and then pinpointing at the exact moments when they tell their stories to me, when that light that produces such good stuff is the thing that employees want. And that is how I was able to boil up the 9 behaviors. These 9 behaviors are the things that really encapsulate everything that employees have been asking for. And these people are really demonstrating it in this one angled story that we talk about here.
No, it's so good. One of the things I've appreciated is the depth and the breadth of those different real experiences that you've captured in the book. And would you mind speaking to? So I'm in the chemical industry, as you know. My main gig is I work still in the big chemical industry, typically extractive, relatively afraid of this sort of conversation, I would say, generally. What other sectors do the people come from that you've interviewed for the book, just to give the listener, the viewer, a bit of a taste, so they can really sort of maybe lay a hook on, oh, it's that sort of company, or it's that sort of industry?
Yeah, so banking, so nonprofit, like homeless sector, homeless, serving homeless. Those who are in national laboratories. I'm going through my head right now. There's a gentleman, my only gentleman. He's the president and CEO of the National Foundation for the Blind. That might not be the exact national. I think that's what it is. He's on there, and he's a blind gentleman. Love him. Oh my gosh. Trying to think. There's just so many. County government, federal reserve. All over. That's all I have to say. Just, I can't even name them, because if I were to look back at the index, I was just like, wow, everybody. There's a few that overlap. So like there's probably 10 people in banking out of the 80 people in the book. And then there are just a whole bunch of spattering of all kinds of other industries from there.
So the thing that comes up for me straight away with that is caring crosses sector. Caring crosses function.
Yes. This kind of gets to what I was saying, right? That when you're trying to sell something, you never say this is for everybody in the world. It's like the worst thing to do. That's not a strategy you have, right? But caring can and should be done by everyone towards another human, right? Towards everyone. It can just never ever get old.
I love that. And hello to Ashley. Thanks for joining us. Excuse me. I'm having my vulnerable moment, and I'm looking at my screen going, I probably need a bit of better lighting, Heather, for the next one of these conversations. but you can still see me just about, which is great. No, I think it's really important, because as I say, we can get stuck. I've certainly got stuck in my head thinking, like, I want to be more vulnerable. Like, it took me years, as you know. I'd like to show more of myself. I'd like to be more vulnerable. I'd like to ask for help more from my team. But the conditions, the environment within which I operate, nobody else is modeling that. So if I become the only, even as a white male, the only person to challenge the status quo, what's the risk to me? And I'm really curious about how you feel more caring cultures might reduce or alleviate that type of situation within an organization. Do you feel more caring cultures will actually break that barrier down? Is probably a question.
Yeah, I mean, it is that whole idea, like, you are who you hang around with, you are your top 5 people you hang around with, that kind of thing, right? I think if you're in a culture that has that, it's super contagious. I don't know how you get around it. I mean, if I had a whole culture full of Garys, how could I not go around, telling people how amazing they are and just like loving on them? And I don't know, it just be hard to do. So I think that you're definitely onto something that that caring cultures beget caring people, and they bring in caring people, and it just continues to feed itself, right, in a circle. I mean, with me, I collaborate with people. I choose the people in my circle who they're not me, but they definitely lead with care. They have whole other ways they show up, but they lead with care, and I think that's for me the North Star. So I think if you were recruiting new people, bringing new people into the organization, and they had, again, you had this foundation of what these 9 behaviors are, right? And then when you start to go in and you ask those questions that are related to, when was a time when you did this thing, right? There's always those kind of questions that you ask in the interviews. But if you're doing that and you're getting to, is their behavior one where they lean on listening? Right? Are they someone who, when they meet someone else, importance is like their North Star? So I'm going to give you this example. And this is not to fluff me up, because there's plenty of times I can guarantee you I've made people not feel so great. But I think this one time I was managing kind of an eclectic group at a large county government, and there was a gal that was at the front desk, and she was getting frustrated because there was a person who approached her who I think she might have been Korean, and so she had a very thick accent, and the person at the front desk was like, "I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry, ma'am." Like she was starting to get like irritated, and you could see it. And I'm sure the customer at this point, it was a resident, and she was getting frustrated, and so I went up to her and I said, so my team member could watch me. I went up to her and I said, "Excuse me, can I help you?" And she's tried, oh boy, she stumbled over words. She tried so hard to communicate to me, but I thought I heard her say that she needed to get like divorce records or something like that. So I'm like, okay, so walk with me. So I walked with her down this very long hall, and I stood with her in line while we waited for this person at the counter to be available in the area that she needed. And then once the counter was open and the person was there, I walked up to the person and said, "This person is looking, I think they are looking for divorce records for something like that. Can you help her?" And then, of course, I then made the direct introduction. I didn't have to do that. This wasn't like, it wasn't like she was a customer in the traditional sense, meaning she was coming in the building, but she wasn't necessarily talking to me. I just went on my way to make sure that she felt taken care of as she was going down the hall, and she was all over the place and super confused. The person at the counter was frustrated. So the idea was, I wasn't managing her. It wasn't my title that did it. It was just the fact that I had a desire to meet her where she was at, which was in a place of confusion and frustration, and try to see if we can meet her needs right there in the moment. And that's what I'm talking about, is we all can kind of be there with people, putting titles aside, authority aside, the boss aside, putting that aside. And how do we show up to make people feel kind of cared for just in their journey in life?
I love how you've blended in the moment with the spirit of this conversation we're having right here, right now. We are making momentary decisions as self-leaders and leaders of other people. And I think we forget about that. I forget about that sometimes, because we think that, this is me being vulnerable again, Heather, I sit there sometimes going, systemic challenges, social injustice, workplace. Then I go, actually, but we're making in the moment human decisions every single time. So is there actually a systemic issue, as in like, can you feel it? Or is it actually a sort of thought created, like, so I'm going a little bit like woo woo here, but like there's something around, are these challenges actually tangible, or are they actually just human belief challenges? Mm-hmm. And if we can actually delayer those beliefs, do we actually then create different systems? So I don't know if you've followed me on that at all, but this is where I've been meandering myself in recent weeks.
Well, I think that this is something that, as I sit on a lot of these calls, and I have conversations on the podcast and things like that, and I have these, and I just get so many epiphanies. And one of them is this, and this just happened today. So now I'm just coming back to you with like this started before you, now it's just kind of flowing in here. And that is, I think the human behaviors are tangible. I mean, so I know we can't go like this with it, like this, but I can feel it. So like your behavior produces a result in me. So if you ignored me when you were walking by me in the hallway, it's tangible to me because I feel it. I feel unworthy. I feel unimportant. However, if you walk by me, you go, Heather, what's going on? How are you? Oh my gosh. And you ask me a couple questions and you go on your way. It's tangible to me because I feel it. You see, I feel it in my soul. And it's not just me because I'm a feeler. I think everybody feels whether they have been demeaned, put down, ignored, unheard, right? So the epiphany for me today in our activating consciousness conversation is that behaviors are tangible. How do you feel about that?
Oh.
How do you feel about that? Let's talk.
I'm glad we've got 10 minutes, but we could even have 10 hours on this one. You know that, Heather. But do you know something? What you're speaking to me really powerfully, and we don't have this conversation enough, but it is very linked to your books. I feel the energy through every chapter. And what you're speaking to, that feeling is energy. We know when we feel wronged, when we feel ignored, when we feel seen. It's actually a feeling before words.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the interesting thing in what you're sharing, I think, is it's an energetic sense that we feel in our body before we can even put a word on it. And it's those feelings that we normally suppress, like, oh, don't like that, feels icky, or that feels difficult. I did it, as you know, for 30 odd years after being bullied as a kid. So yes, basically, yes. And I'm sitting in that behaviors are tangible, at an energetic sense. Yes. I feel like having another burger.
Yeah. And a beer. We gotta add a beer to it.
Wow.
I don't know. If another person talks about squishy soft, I know we say it because we're trying to prove a point with things. I can guarantee you the hardest, biggest jerk of a person out in the world, if you were to peel back all the layers and find out for him or her, or in between, what were like their best memories of going to work? Like if you were just to ask them that, I guarantee you, they're not going to say going through all those spreadsheets was amazing. It was a thing that was the most memorable in my workplace. Even if they're the biggest jerk, they're going to say something like, there was one time when we all went to the Rockies game and we were like, it was a couple guys and we were all drinking beers and But see, it's human behavior, human relationships, interaction. That's the thing it doesn't matter who it is we're talking about. So it's the feeling.
And you've now really got me thinking, Heather, about, because again, you know the story I've shared of my own workplace where, we increased sales by 6 million margin and 6 million sales and margin by 1.5 million over 3 years. Same people, same company, same market conditions. What changed? How everybody organized around shared mission, everyone felt part of something. What you speak to brilliantly in your book, everyone felt whole as part of that change. They were still being paid the same money. They were still part of the same company, the company I work for now. So what's happening is exactly what you're describing. Exactly. So my point is, we make more money. We develop healthier outcomes by leading with care. And I think this is the gap that you're bringing brilliantly with the book. Like, we're not just talking about soft. It's the right thing to do anyway. You and I know that. We all know it's the right thing to do. However, there's a really good business benefit for doing it as well. So why not?
It's so true, actually, because I keep hearing what I keep hearing, and I was trying not to have that be done or loud and clear in my book. I actually didn't want it. I didn't want it to be like an either or situation, where people say, well, they can't be all about the profits and all about this. They need to be about the people. And I don't think that's true. I don't think it's not an either or, it's an and situation for sure. So that, yes, I want profits. I'm a business. We're expanding. We're growing, right? I want to make sure that we are, that we're fruitful. Because if we're fruitful, number one, I keep my team growing. They get happy. They get right. This is the kind of the way it works. But we don't become that way if I'm just running around being a jerk all the time. So, but if I say, oh, let's go do this other thing that's creative. Oh, that's innovative. Oh, that could produce a whole other service line that produces money. But it's because we were allowing them to be their full selves, to bring all of that goodness right up straight front and center. And that's really the difference.
I'm going to repeat my offer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 copies of Heather's book. Drop me a DM on LinkedIn, connect with me. You've met the author herself. She's an amazing human being. I've not bought these just for fun. And Heather hasn't paid me either. They're actually out of my own pocket. I've paid for these. So, like, seriously, like, because one of the big chapters for me, Heather, was the one around involve them. And I think you're speaking to that brilliantly in a time where we do have a heightened awareness of what good looks like in terms of inclusion, equity, belonging, diversity. Like, I feel I don't like this word, but I also do like it, is operationalize. What I like about the book is there's so many real life stories of what good looks like, and also what vulnerable looks like, and what listening looks like, and what safe spaces look like, that it really is one of the best playbooks that I've read in a very long time, that actually brings an operational and not just theoretical lens on the world. So again, I know we're down to the last 5 minutes, but I just want to say thank you so much for like bringing this to the world, because we desperately need it, and I do think the time is now. You always see my little hashtag, the time is now, but like it really is for me. So like I'd love for you to share with the people that are joining us or watch this back, Heather, what's maybe 1 or 2 invitations you have, following our conversation today. Again, right now, right here in this moment, any invitations you may offer.
Yeah, I would say, the first thing is to let go of the preconceived notions of what leadership is, and know that that includes everyone, and that I would want to expand the circle and put you in it with me. And so that means all the things that I put in there include you. So yes, you have to involve others. Yes, you have to make people feel important. Yes, you have to listen to people. It doesn't matter what your title is. So you are not excluded, which means there's more responsibility for you too, right? That's one thing. And then I would say, there's a whole community that's built up around this. And so hopefully you get the book, The Art of Caring Leadership, but then you go join the community and just start having conversations with other leaders on the journey who are kind of baffled and kind of trying to figure it all out and trying to be the best they can be. But they're doing that for themselves and for those around them. And so, just join in. And you can go to caringleadership.co for that. And that you'll see a lot of the people, you'll see Garry, you'll see lots of maybe people you've already seen, and a lot of new people, which is so cool. I love the inclusiveness. I love the people I see coming in from all over the world into that community, wanting to figure out how they can care more. So welcome.
Beautiful. And do you want to share the URL for the Caring Leadership community, Heather?
Yes, it's basically caringleadership.co. Caring Leadership. You go there, you'll see there's a self-assessment, there's a community, there's an academy, there's some caring leadership coaches. If you feel like you need some help on this journey where you're like, I'm kind of there, but I'm not quite there, then you can get a little help from them because they're a little further along on that journey. And we're all on a journey. It's not about perfection. It's just about continuous improvement.
Right, you just threw that energetic spine tingle back through the screen, literally on what you just said. My whole body just went, oh my God, yes it is. Yes it is. I want to appreciate Ashley and also Brian. So Brian is also Brian Kelly's one of the Caring Leadership coaches, another great human being. And I just don't want to go. Like, simple as that, Heather. I just want to stay here for another hour, but I know that time is precious. So I just want to say thank you. Thanks genuinely for your friendship, for everything you're doing, for having trust in so many of us to support you and this community. And I'm just really excited to see where it all goes. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. And I want to give you the last word. Final word for you. I'll tell you what, I've not done this yet. At the end of half an hour, what's on your head and heart right here, right now, as you go into the rest of your afternoon?
Well, I have a couple other calls. I think my head and heart is to go meet my kids where they're at. Make sure I meet them and try to take care of their needs, because all day I'm kind of doing it for others and for myself inside the workspace, and it's making sure I can meet them where they're at and spend that time with them, make them feel important too.
Sounds like chapter 1 of the self-leadership in real life action there. Nice. You're a star, Heather. Thank you. Appreciate you. And thank you everyone for joining us. Have a great evening or afternoon. Take care, everyone.
just want to say that of all the wonderful people I've had a chance to meet, it's just amazing how authentically Garry shows up.
Get away from the myopic focus on just the metrics. We need to be looking at vulnerability, curiosity, what it means to be human, and have the human conversations that are so often missing in the workplace.